What's up, everybody? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? K Mega 405 coming to you live from the 405 where I'm just your regular gamer talking to the intelligent gamers. What's happening, everybody? Looks like I got everything working properly. All right, good deal. Now, next test is when I work on GRG Friday. Anyway, so other than that, what's going on with you, Slayer? What's happening? And for everybody else that's coming in here and that will come in here later. Not going to try to have a video as long as I did, yes, the other day, but hey, it is what it is. If I get into that mode, I get into that mode. But I do want to make this point because I thought this was very interesting. What's going on with you, Elite? Um, as you can read the title, man, Digital Foundry, they deal a blow today. And listen, I don't always follow Digital Foundry because I thought they were absolutely off base when they were talking about the differences between GT, which is Gran Turismo Sport, comparing to Forza 7, saying that GT Sport looked better. It had better textures or renders or whatever. When I have both games looking at it, with HDR on, off, whatever the case may be, Forza 7 looks highly and much more superior than GT Sport. Uh, by all means. But regardless, I know that people like to show the picture mode. Now, if they're talking about the picture mode aspect of it on GT Sport, looks amazing, but that's not the actual end game. I mean, the desert scene on just for in that fake track in Dubai should have set the standard right there to let everybody know that Forza 7 was the more superior looking racer graphically between the two. But I digress on that. This is the thing right here with me. There's some things. What's going on with you, Slugger? Man, you catch me streaming early this morning, and now you see me up in here, man. Yeah, I never sleep, bro. Uh, but yeah, but like I said, I digress on that situation. I mean, people can have their opinions on however they want, whatever they want. But the thing to me is Digital Foundry is not always wrong, and Digital Foundry is not always right. You take it with a grain of salt. They make Xbox fans really happy. They make Xbox fans really pissed off, and it's the same on PlayStation as well. But this thing right here should have been a reality from the very beginning. I was highly on this stance a long time ago, going way back, just a couple about 2 or 3 years when once this whole dynamic talk about frame rates and all of that started popping up, and people were demanding more from the gaming consoles, especially when the X started to come about, started talking initially. Everybody started talking about the Xbox One X and how games should all be 60 frames per second. There should be no compromises, all of that type of stuff, right? But what we're seeing now is the reality of what I've said from when I was getting clowned because I was saying that, hey, two developers themselves were telling me, look, this is the future. This is not going to be anything different. This is how that devs, if they feel however they want their games to be, they will have them at 30 frames per second. There is no getting around it. If they could push it for 60 frames per second, they would. But there's a reason why they put their games at 30 frames per second. And I said, look, I stand with the devs on this. I mean, they're the ones that's making this game. They would know what they were putting in, what they needed to take out, all of that stuff in order to achieve whatever they're achieving. I just talked about the whole situation uh, not too long ago about this whole situation about the 60 the 60 between $70 games and the $10 difference and all of that and how I was like, look, people are demanding so much from these developers and from these publishers, and yes, there's a lot of money being pumped into gaming, and it's the biggest entertainment in the world, but there's also a lot of studios that close their doors, and there's a lot of developers that go elsewhere. We say this thing hashtag Tuesdays because there's always devs going from one place to the other because of if it's management issues or if it's one of those things where it's just that studio may close down. Obviously, that studio wasn't making money to sustain themselves, so they got to go elsewhere. So it's not all just peaches and cream just because the industry is where it is. I mean, you just look at America. America's one of the richest countries, if not the richest country in the entire world, but there's people still in poverty. So I mean, I don't even understand how people can't get that concept. But it is one of those things too, where if you look at it, 30 frames per second shouldn't be the end all to how you win a game. Because just take this point for a second. Just let's look at this for instance. Just hear me out. The Last of Us 2 just came out, right? Just a couple of weeks ago. I didn't hear anybody complain about that game being 30 frames per second. Ghost of Tsushima comes out next week. I can't wait. I already bought it. I'm ready to go, ready to stream it. That game is going to be 30 frames per second too. And I don't hear anybody complaining about that. So why is it all of a sudden now, well, these new consoles, well, they got to be 60 frames per second or I'm not even going to support it. I'm not going to support these games. Come on now. If that's the case, if you already had that thought process, you wouldn't have paid $60 for The Last of Us. You wouldn't buy Ghost of Tsushima. You wouldn't have bought Horizon Zero Dawn. You wouldn't have bought all these other games, and you would have been more supportive of games like Gears, Halo 5, Sea of Thieves. Because I believe well, hold on. I don't know. I made my first mistake with Sea of Thieves already with the price. I don't know. Let me see if it's. I don't know if it's. It might be 30 frames per second. I thought it might be 60, but I don't know. Somebody gotta let me know in the chat on that. So I made the mistake on the price, and they jumped on me. Oh, misinformation. So anyway, regardless of that, but I didn't see them clamoring and loving all that in the sense of games that are 60 frames per second that has a story mode compared to games that are 30 frames per second that has a story mode. So I don't get it. I never was in that camp of like, look, it's 60 frames it's 60 frames of death. I just like, look, I understand that 60 frames per second for sports, racers, fighters, shooters. Those are a must. Those are a must. But story games, not so much. I want to see I want to see the game at its best. If you got me spending 500 plus dollars for a console, which I mean we have no idea. I'm pretty much that's where it looked like the price is going to be for both of these consoles. $500, and you tell me that okay, you know that Fable is going to be 30 frames per second. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm just not. Now I would say definitely support those performance modes that they have. Like if you have the frames per second mode or what do they call it, performance mode compared to the quality mode or whatever. I always pick the quality mode. Hell, even with uh my Dead or Alive 6. They have both of those. They have those two options, and I always pick the graphics mode. I always pick the quality mode. I want to see. I didn't buy this television that I have, or the televisions that I buy, because even when I bought my Sony, that was the first 4K television that I bought. I didn't buy these televisions to see the performance of how fast that they would go at 60 frames per second. I want to see what the HDR is capable of. I want to see these games at their best. I want to see it. And when you look at the difference between Tomb Raider, for instance, it is a big difference. It's a gap. Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider looks fantastic with that HDR and that performance mode. Right from the very beginning, when you go in there, it looks almost real when Laura's caught up into that rock and she's about to come out in the very beginning of the game. And then when the part where she jumps into the mountains, or when the time that she gets attacked, where she sees that jaguar that comes after her, there's points in that game that really make me holy moly, whoa! I'll take that 30 frames per second. I'm not tripping on that because there is nothing for me other. It's just me playing, and the experience is fine. Just like with Last of Us 2, it didn't look slow to me when I seen pictures of Ellie jumping up and stabbing people and running up under people and cutting them up and throwing fire and liquid and look, I don't look. It looked great. Uh, Duke, okay, yeah, Dead or Alive 6. Yeah. Anyway, let's not go there. But anyway, but no, it just to me, I'm like, come on, guys. We can't always complain about everything. Now, I understand. Listen, yes, these consoles are capable. They're definitely capable. And I know that some people will come after me and say, "Well, Mega, you're trying to just be content with what they give you when they could give you so much more." That's not necessarily true because if these games are going to start having ray tracing, that's a resource hog. That thing will eat up all types of assets, and your game will be slower. When I put it up first, I had to do some maneuvering when I did the ray tracing on um what's that little game, Minecraft. My Man, it went from 123 frames to bloop to 25 when I added the ray tracing, and then I had to do some stuff, and I got it to 50. That was the max. I was like, damn. Now, of course, you see the difference between it, but and it kept it stable. It dipped down to like about 50. It went to like 50. It stayed at 50, and then it went down to maybe like 45, and then there was one point that it just stayed there. It came to where it was the more graphical areas in the rooms and stuff. It dropped down to 45 or whatever. But I mean, again, I've always cared more about the stability of the game more than anything. Like you can have 60 frames for second games. I mean, I think when people had the remaster for The Last of Us, that thing is 60, but that thing goes up and down like crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. Like I understand people's complaints about certain things or whatever, but you can't complain to me about, in one instance, about games need to all be 60 frames per second, but you buy a VR system that costs what three at the time it was $500, wasn't it? It was $400 to $500 for the PlayStation VR, wasn't it? And that was the lowest. That was the lowest piece of tech, VR tech, out of everything else that was available. So why did you short yourself? Why did you not go for the best? Why did you not go for the Vive? Or why did you not go for the other product? Come on, man. Stop it. Stop it. It's not that big of a deal. You can't have it one way on this one and then another. You can't. You can't be bitching and complaining about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. You can't. And then on the other end, don't say nothing about The Last of Us 2. And the reason why I'm making this video is because of what Digital Foundry was saying about Spider-Man 5. They said potentially it could be 30 frames per second. Now, I've already thrown my shade out. Like, it's just an expansion. It's the PlayStation's version of ODST. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's an expansion. I wish that Miles Morales had a bigger role. It just should have been Spider-Man 2. But of course, it's money. If the name is Spider-Man, they're gonna rake some cash. The one problem that I'll have with it, other than I won't have a problem if it's 30 frames per second. I'm gonna have a problem with is that it's $60 for a game that's only 5 to 10 hours. That's atrocious. And you see people that was complaining about Resident Evil 6 or not Resident Evil 6, but the last of this new remaster that the game only was 6 hours long, and people had to pay full 60 or even more for if they bought um, a deluxe edition. Now, the Spider-Man situation, and look, Primal Data, you might be absolutely right. He said, I think Sony is rushing out the game since Spider-Verse 2 is coming soon. That could be a really good point. But for Digital Foundry coming out and to say, hey, look, this game could be potentially 30 frames per second, it is what it is, man. I'm not even going to trip about it. I'm not. Because if that game has ray tracing, it has all the other bells and whistles to make it look fantastic, then fine. I understand it is using the same engine that the first Spider-Man is used on the PlayStation 4. That's fine. Somebody threw some shade. I thought it was pretty funny. They said, "Well, look, we know that uh, that this Spider-Man game can be played on the PlayStation 4," which he's absolutely right. But it's the thing to me is where I see the people out here trying to defend it now instead of go. For there's still those that was all about no man, the 60 frames, no man. But I didn't see all those people like they were about Assassin's Creed Valhalla jumping crazy, going all over the place, talking about they weren't going to support the game, they wasn't going to buy it. I didn't see a lot of that when it came to Spider-Man being 30 frames per second. I didn't see that. What's going on with you? What's happening with you, Xavier? What's happening with you? Um, that's the thing that I'm not understanding. Like, okay, we got to keep that same energy. That's if that's anything with these videos have been lately. You got to keep that same energy. Don't come in here flipping and being one way now and then changing up. Stay consistent. Don't back out. Now, yeah, will you look like a fool at the end of the day? You absolutely will because this isn't going to change. If these games are going to be more diverse, they're going to be bigger, they're going to have all these other different things. You got the machine learning, you got all this other stuff that's going to be implemented into these games with ray tracing, all of that stuff, right? VRS, all this other stuff, all this new technology, the speed of the SSDs, all that other stuff, right? And your complaint out of all of this, for all all these new technologies going into gaming, Unreal 5 and whatever that the Cry engine's going to do, whatever that Xbox going to do with the Slip Space engine. Just imagine what Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is going to look like with that Decima engine. My God. When I looked at that clip, some of that stuff, yeah, it looked CG or whatever, but some of that stuff looked like it was in game. That's going to look amazing, but I guarantee you it's not going to be 60 frames per second. The Forbidden Wilds is not going to be 60 frames per second. I can mark that down right now. If I will eat pro and say, hey, I'm wrong. But I'm putting it on the line right now. As 100 would say, I'm putting it on the wood. I'm saying 30 frames per second. And we're going to see how many people are going to try to turn that down and say, no, 60 frames or death. If it ain't, I'm not buying it. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Now, if this was, let's say, Crossfire X, and this was coming on the Xbox, um, but let's just say that it comes on the Series X, and it comes on the Series X with its enhancements, and then it's 30 frames per second for the whole game. Then that's a reason to complain because it's a shooter. Now, if they say that the story mode is they got a story mode and the story mode is going to be 30 frames per second, but the multiplayer is going to be 60 to 106, 120. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. That's where it's important. Not a single player experience. Valhalla is not going to be anything, and I understand that they're trying to bring co-op to Valhalla, to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's cool too, but it's still a single player experience because that world's going to be so big. I don't think it's going to be where you know you guys got to stick together, and if a person goes so far that it's going to be basically like no, I don't think it's going to be like that. Like you'll get respawn to them or whatever. I think that they'll probably have it to where it's completely separated. I don't know. We got to find more information about Valhalla if it's about this whole co-op situation. Um, but I'm not tripping about Valhalla. I want Valhalla to look the best. What's going on with you, JD Gamer? Appreciate it. He said, I love 60 frames per second on every game, but it's not needed. You know what? And that's my thing. That is my point. What's going on with you, Fonzie? What's going on with you, bro? Slayer, what he says is whatever a game is 60 frames per second, it got less in it than a 30 frames per second game. Yeah, like they have to take things out. I mean, I've heard this before from Don. I've heard this from other developers. Like it's always a give and a take. And what people are clamoring over, what people love and what they enjoy is those beautiful looking games, those games that just draw you in. Like, I mean, yeah. Red Dead Redemption would look fantastic. But you know what I care about for like a game like Red Dead Redemption or for um, Grand Theft Auto, load times. That's what's more important. We were just talking about that this morning. Me and Yobi, me and Dragonheart Yobi. Shout out to my boy Yobi. We were just talking about that this morning. Like you have to sit there forever in order to get into the game of Grand Theft Auto 5 or especially like Red Dead Redemption 2. That's what's more important. I'm stoked about these SSDs. That's what's going to cut these load times down. Like for Tekken, for instance, like Tekken 7, when you play it online, oh my God, sometimes you just sitting there like, man, what is going on, brother? Man, I just don't get it. What's going on, JD? You said some games just want to just want that good visual experience. That's right. That's the point I'm trying to make. These guys want to give you the best looking game that they can possibly give you. And if that means that they got to take it down to 30 frames per second, I don't see how anybody can have a problem with that. Especially everybody's been playing games at at these low frames per second for well, console gamers. I can't say so much about PC gamers, but console gamers. Console gamers just have to live this life. And I'm like, all of a sudden, no, 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 no. We want to be a part of this 60 frames per second or nothing crowd is absolutely insane to me. It's just insane to me. We played, even if you're new to gaming, if you started in the PlayStation 3 360 era or the Wii U era, Wii and Wii U era, your games were 30 frames per second or less even. And that's why I'm like, why is it it's not that big of a deal, guys. Relax. Once these devs get used to the hardware, there will be games that's going to surprise people, and there'll be an open world that could be 60 frames per second. Then just think about all the games that's going to be upgraded that you can go back to and play. Like for instance, The Witcher 3. Oh man, we'll get to experience it at 60 frames per second. You know what I'm saying? Once those games get those enhancements, and you get it, boom, right there, 60 frames per second, maybe even higher. That's gonna, and then other games for our backwards compatible games, they're gonna get those enhancements to where those games are gonna play a lot better, and we'll get to experience that. But trying to run with the Joneses and want to have a high-end PC that costs anywhere from $2,000 plus with a $500 console, man, you're risking it all for that. You're really risking it all for that. JD Gamer, he says, I also believe more games using the SSDs to stream and assets will be 30 frames per second. As I noticed, the Ratchet and Clank still had a short hidden load screen. Yeah. Now, see, I don't know what the Ratchet and Clank speed's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be 30 frames per second. But damn, that game looked good. That game looked fantastic. So again, like I said, you can love Digital Foundry, you can hate Digital Foundry, but all I can tell you is this: is that they're kind of giving you the indication that look, be ready. There's no need to trip about it. I know that the articles are already trying to get started. I've seen it where they said, oh, you know what, it's not such a bad thing, even though they were a part of that. The media was part of the people that was talking about 60 frames or death or whatever, and it kind of caused this rift. But now they want to try to get it back because they see that it's not going to change. So I don't know, man. I'm really tripping about on it. Also, one more point I want to make is about the whole PC thing. I keep hearing more and more people keep saying, "Well, I'm just going to give me a PC." No, you're not. You can get one. Yeah, you can buy one. I'm not saying that you don't got the money or the bread or whatever to do it, but you're not going to enjoy it. If you're a console gamer, you're a console gamer. It's just no different than you're a PC gamer. That's where you're primarily going to be. Is on PC. I got a gaming PC. This PC right here is it does everything that it needs to do. I was just playing the demo for what was it, Mortal Shell at 70 frames per second. No problem. No compromise, just straight smooth. Boom, 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 boom. Just went through. I could have got it. I could have pushed it up to 120 because it has a thing to where it's unlimited or whatever, and you have a other little tab to where you could choose. And so I was like, oh, let's try 70. And I said, all right. And then I dropped it down to 60 because some things that I try to send over to Twitter, it won't let me. So I have to dumb it down before I can send it. So I was like, oh, let me put it down to 60 frames per second, blah blah blah. And so I did it, and it worked smooth, of course. But again, I primarily on console, and I don't have an issue with it. So that's why I'm like, while these people, yeah, you'll get it and you'll start getting it, you'll fall in love with it at first, and but then when you start getting those headaches on PC, you're gonna be right there on your console and just happy about the plug and play aspect, and you're not, and you're gonna play on your PC on every once in a while. There's gonna be those certain games, like you see this game right here. This is only on PC right now. Hopefully this game will come to consoles eventually. It's from a Chinese, not a Japanese, but a Chinese developer. They and so really cool game. But again, it's like this is why I play my PC is for certain games like this, or if I want to double dip, triple dip on some games like I do with Tekken, with Soul Calibur, stuff like that, and then I want to get the best performance out of them because Tekken and Soul Calibur don't perform as well on either the PlayStation or the Xbox as well as they do on PC, which is unbelievable. But it just doesn't. And so I like playing those games on my PC more. But again, I'm still primarily on my console because it's just what I like to do. It's just I feel more comfortable there. That's just where I am, and that's what other people are going to be like. It's not going to be this big, huge, mad exodus to PC just because you can get these 60 frames or higher performances. Because first off, people aren't going to get once they get that first headache, they can't call Steam or whatever or Epic and say, look, man, this game has issues or issues. They'll say, hey, look, you got two options here. You could ask somebody for help, or you can get your money back. Now, if you want your money back on a $5 game, so be it. Sometimes they won't even give you, they won't even care about, you know what I'm saying, that game's too old. So, you know what I'm saying? And then some games that you may buy, that you get somewhere cheap or something, and then you try to play it, they won't work. And then you might get a patch, and that game might work flawless, like Ninja Blade. Ninja Blade worked fantastic on my old PC. I got a my new PC is 10 times better than my old PC. Won't mess with it. Won't work it. Won't deal with it at all. Now it could be because of my graphics card or something. I don't know. Whatever. But it won't work. It just won't work. It's pretty crazy. But those are the type of things, those little headaches that PC gives you that a lot of people don't talk about from people that talk about they're going to switch over or whatever. You'll never hear a PC person saying they're going to switch over to console. They're just not. They're comfortable where they are, and that's the same thing with console gamers. They're never going to just switch over and just stay primarily on PC. There's just too many. If you're new to gaming and you just try to jump on and you're like, man, I'm gonna try to build me a PC. I've only maybe been on a console for one generation, and so I just want to jump on PC. Then maybe that could be the difference, but not for somebody who's been gaming on consoles ever since, let's say, PlayStation One, and then they decide to, well, no, I'm gonna go ahead and just go prime. It ain't gonna happen. It's just not. It's just not. So. Um, so I just wanted to just touch bases with you guys. I didn't want to make a long video, like I said. I just wanted to give you this thing. Don't trip out about the 30 frames per second, and please stop with the whole 60 frames per second or death when it comes to, especially with single player games, because it just doesn't make any sense anymore. It just doesn't. This is going to happen when these other games start to come out. You're going to see more and more games that's going to be 30 frames. Halo, it's most likely probably going to be 60 frames per second. Um, but if they do a Fable, I don't see that being 60 frames per second. If it is, that's a plus. If it does get, if it has anything, I would look at it to see those type of two modes that they have, and I think that would be the best option than anything. But as for me, which I have to agree with Slayer, they take things out to give you that extra performance, and I want to get everything that I possibly can, especially if you guys are going to invest in, these new high-end monitors and televisions. It just seems like if you want the best looking games, give them to me. And if they're 30, I'm cool with it. So I don't know, guys. I am about to be done with this. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to touch base on it. I hope you guys come and check out the GRG podcast at 8:30, 8:30 Central or 6:30 Pacific, and 9:30 Eastern, man. I sorry I don't know any other times else in the world. Sorry to my people across the world that checks out GRG. But come check us out. We will be on YouTube and we will be on Twitch. And if you have not checked out my Twitch channel, come and check me out there. It's what is it? K Mega, just K Mega 405. One word, just K Mega 405. I really appreciate it, man. Come give it a follow. Come check out your boy. Come check us out. Have a good time, man. I really appreciate it. And oh, don't forget the merch. The merch is in the description. If you guys are interested in get some GRG gear, that would definitely help us out. I really would appreciate that. So thank you guys so much. Everybody have a good one. Till next time. Peace.